You know, this intro should be revamped. It has to be revamped. It's too good an intro for a team that plays like this. The Toronto Raptors are dead set on doing one critical thing right now, which is ruining your holiday season. I'm gonna be real. This is not the vibe that you want to go into Christmas with your kids and family, thinking about your team getting smoked on back to back games, once by the Jalen Brownless Boston Celtics and now by the Brooklyn Nets on a back to back. I don't care if you got in 20 minutes before the game. You cannot lose to the Brooklyn Nets. I understand so much of the schedule comes down to when you face teams. I get it. Absolutely. The Brooklyn Nets have been playing much better recently, but the Raptors could not score tonight. Their offensive process sucked. Absolutely sucked. Their defense sucked. And while it has become a little bit customary, in this channel to sometimes blame people that are not named Scottie Barnes, tonight it is very hard to make an excuse for how Scottie Barnes played basketball. It is absolutely an unforgivable. If you're going to play like this, just don't play. Don't play. Do not play. Your body language sucks. Your defense sucks. You're leaving shooters wide open. That block on Nolan Traore, whatever, incidental contact. Okay, you're fouling. You're late. The transition defense against Michael Porter Jr. was ridiculous. Just losing shooters left, right, and center. And then on offense, like the absolute worst on offense, right? Just an absolute net negative, zip, zero, nothing on offense. Can't hit spot up shots, not willing to attack the paint. Finally gets a move to go down against Sharpe. Oops, it's a travel. It's not fouls. It's not the referees. It's not fatigue. It's not anything. This is a mental block. You come into the game when you have this mentality coming into the game of this, well, I'm just going to look to set up Ochai Agbaji. What the hell is Ochai Agbaji doing with isolation possessions on your clock? You got to take over. Now, I think that this team, through all of the shittiness that was last season, has never looked this dysfunctional offensively as it has over the last 10 to 12 games. And it's not just RJ Barrett. I don't want to hear it. It's not just RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is not solving these problems. He is a contributor to solving the problems for sure. A healthy Jakob Poeltl would definitely help. But you will remember the game where the Raptors beat the Nets and they were playing with their food the entire way through. And I'm like, what is it? This team has a culture of difficult isolation plays. Let me take you through a Raptors possession. Scottie Barnes gets the ball on the right block, doesn't even look to score, kicks it out to Ochai Agbaji. He will swing it to the top to Immanuel Quickley, who will be covered by the time because he has no scoring gravity. Immanuel Quickley will predictably hold the ball. Then he will swing it left to Brandon Ingram, who will then be covered. And nothing happens. The Raptors offense, where nothing happens. Look, this comment right here, motion offense is good when you have decent role players. Imagine can't shooting an open basket. I don't know exactly grammatically what you mean there, but I think motion works when you attack it with ferocity and some energy. You're seeing the Miami Heat kind of hit a similar wall as the Raptors right now. There's only so much you can do to bat above your weight class. And the Toronto Raptors obviously have exceeded expectations, even given the last two games, given the losing streak. The Raptors are better this year than they have been than they were expected to be. And the Raptors are definitely achieving above expectations. They're batting above their weight class right now. They're being put into conversations of who do they want in the playoffs. And I think sometimes how you handle success shows me just as much as how you handle failure. The Raptors have handled success by sinking down to the middle, thinking, hey, you know what? We have a bit of a cushion. We're third in the East. We didn't expect to be third in the East. Let's take some games off. That's a bad sign for a team that cannot handle success. However, how you respond from failure also says a lot about your character. And last night, the Raptors got whooped by a team, and tonight, granted, for 7 minutes, you had Jakob Poeltl. It didn't look great, but it looked better. Someone said Penn got a burner for his own show. Who's my burner? Who is my burner? Do you see me typing? Do you think that I have what are you talking about? Anyways, the Raptors suck tonight. They managed to score. This is not a typo. They scored 81 points. They scored 81 points. I shudder to think what the offensive rating was with Scottie on the court because a large part of their run, that 15-0 run, where Immanuel Quickley basically took this team on his back and just put 15 points on the board. He had 6 points and 3 assists during that run. Jameson Battle got free. You know, I would shudder to think Scottie probably had like a 50 offensive rating today, something like that, maybe 45. It was horrible. And look, we've seen players hit a wall. RJ Barrett hit a wall earlier this season. Immanuel Quickley has hit multiple walls this season. Brandon Ingram has hit multiple walls this season. Jakob Poeltl has hit multiple walls this season. Jacoby and Grady have hit walls this season. Ochai has hit a wall. Ochai's entire season has been a wall apart from like 2 games. So this is the Scottie wall. And unfortunately, history has taught us over the last 4.5 years that when Scottie hits a wall, like when he hits this mental wall where it just looks really, really bad. So is this something that you just come to expect from Scottie Barnes every year? Right? Is this what you just come to expect? Where, okay, 60% of the season, you're going to look like an all NBA guy. 20% of the season, you're going to look like an all star. And 20% of the season, you're pretty much going to look like Ochai Agbaji. Is that what we come to expect? Then I don't think you can be a superstar. I don't think you can be a franchise player. If 20% of the games you're going to look like this, I don't think you can be a superstar. You have to find a way to contribute when your shot isn't going. You have to find a way to attack the line. You have to find a way to attack the glass. On a game like tonight, you must feel the burden and the onus of being the highest paid player on the team. You have to believe that you can still make a difference because you are Scottie Barnes. You are an all-star. You are being guarded like an all-star. They are guarding you. They're not just leaving you wide open. So attack the mismatches, draw fouls, get to the line, play balls to the wall defense. At least last night, Scottie had some very positive defensive possessions on Peyton Pritchard. What the hell was he doing tonight? This sucked. And that blank stare that he had on the bench, I wonder what's going wrong. I wonder what is going wrong with this team. Now, Kia Nurse and Leah Routins had a nice little healthy debate at half about what is going wrong with Scottie Barnes. And Leah was like, you know what? It's the body language. I hate it. You got to find a way to contribute. Leah was kind of saying what I'm saying. Kia had a different approach. She said, listen, like, yes, he has it a wall, but it's partially on the Raptors themselves. They do have to run some plays for him. And it made me think, yes, there have been a lot of times this year, earlier in the season especially, where Scottie was just wide open and they looked him off. And I'm noticing a lot of it now where he'll make a pass and the guy won't do what he wants him to do. Like there was an inbound pass to Mamu Kelishvili. Scottie puts his hands up with the 3. Mamu swings it. Scottie puts his hands down and he's just sulking. Look, part of being a leader is learning how to communicate your frustrations to your teammates in a healthy, productive way. If Mamu is not taking the shot that you want him to, if Immanuel Quickley is not passing you the ball where you want him to, you need to find a way to communicate that to them without sighing, rolling your eyes, and basically soft quitting on your team. This is not a performance that you can this is going to stick in people's minds. Every single time that somebody comes to your defense and says, yes, Toronto has a superstar, they're going to point to games like tonight, games like last night, and games like New York as 3 glaring examples of why you don't have it. You don't deserve that tag. And frankly, it's one thing to, have a high turnover game. It's one thing to maybe get beat on your matchup, to have some bad luck. I understand it. There's another thing where you go 0 for 6 or 0 for 7 on shots that you're trying to take. It's another thing where you're also like you lose every element of the sniff test. So your process is bad, your execution is bad, your uh, approach is bad, your attitude is bad. You can't have it all go wrong in the same time and then also happen to have it at a time when your team desperately needs you. It's one thing to have games like this where your team is, blowing another team out by 12 and we just look past, you having 6 points and 6 rebounds. It's another thing on the road, undermanned, down RJ Barrett, down Jakob Poeltl, down I don't know. I don't know what else the Raptors are down right now. It's another thing to have this type of performance when your team desperately needs you. So, you know what? I've made a lot of, let's say, enemies online saying Scottie Barnes is a superstar. Y'all don't see it. Y'all don't see it. One of the greatest parts, I would say, of being, I think one of the greatest markers of intelligence is learning to second guess your own approach, learning to adjust, learning to adapt. So let me say this: if Scottie Barnes continues to play like this, I will not be talking about superstardom. I will not be talking about vote Scottie for All-Star, whatever. Is he having an All-Star season? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Is he having a top 15, top 16 NBA season? Yes. But unfortunately, your games, like when you're a superstar, you're not defined by your average game. That's the problem with being a superstar. You're defined by your lowlights. When Michael Jordan, has a 13-point game, that's the game that people remember. They don't remember 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. They remember 30, 30, 32, 35, 35, 13. They remember 13, which is why when you are that level of player, you can't have games like this. And I really don't care about the point production. I've never really given two shits about, Scottie Barnes being fourth in, the NBA in fantasy points. I don't care about, top 15 and box plus minus, warp, whatever. That stuff doesn't completely matter. I care about the approach. And it was one thing to have this approach when Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam were freezing you out of the offense and you were running corners. It's one thing to have, your 2 points on 1 for 7 shooting type of performances when it wasn't your team, right? It's another thing when you play like this. And look, he's not alone. Cade Cunningham has had 12 for 30 performances this year, but the 30 is important. You continue to try. And I'm not saying, empty calorie scores, go gun, gun, gun. And I'm not saying Scottie could have necessarily shot himself out of this process. It's a matter of mental readiness. You have to be ready to compete on a night-to-night basis. You must be ready to compete. You have to have the right approach. You have to be mentally squared in the right place. Mental approach to winning, to competing, is the most important thing. We can take the wins and losses as long as you're competing every single night. The Raptors did not compete for most of tonight. There was a lot of bad process, a lot of bad process. Let's take a look at what happened today. If you have callers, we can call in. But obviously, like, this is just not, this was not it, man. This game was not it. This was not a fun watch. No. Okay. Brandon Ingram, minus 14. Scottie Barnes, minus 22. Whole starting lineup was minus, with the exception of Jakob Poeltl, who was absolutely neutral in his 7 minutes before exiting the game with, you guessed it, back issues. The Raptors have a very, very big problem right now in Jakob Poeltl. But Scottie Barnes, 3 for 10, 0 for 3 from 3. That 3-point percentage continues to decline after the last 2 games. He had 3 turnovers very early in the game, 2 blocks. He had 6 points and 6 rebounds. Having 6 rebounds on a night where your center goes to the bench basically in the first quarter is inexcusable. Like, if you're one of those PRA merchants, that's a 13 PRA. Given what the team needed, even 13 rebounds would have been selling it short tonight. It's just crazy. This is one of the worst offensive teams in the league, and you lost to them. They're 4-11 at home, and you lost to them. Unbelievable. Off the bench, the Raptors do not get a single, double-digit scorer, but they do get a nice pop from Jakob Poeltl. Grady Dick was 1 for 6, not for a lack of trying. Had some really, really positive defensive moments, scrapping the ball away, etc. Colin Murray-Boyles, same thing. That 4 for 8. I think he was 4 for 8 last night too, if I'm not mistaken. So shout outs to Colin Murray-Boyles, Mr. Consistency, with 8 points and 5 rebounds and 2 assists. I think he competed. He definitely competed. The Raptors ended up with 9 offensive rebounds tonight. A lot of them incidentally just falling into their lap. This was not a good game by the Raptors. The Raptors do go with their double point guard lineup, but tonight doesn't yield as many results. Jamal Shed ends up making 1 floater, which was the 2 points, but ends up going 0 for 4 from 3. They left him open. They dared him to score, and frankly, he couldn't make him pay. Jamison Battle, your lights out gunner. He comes off the bench with some productive minutes in that second stint that he had, but ultimately 0 for 2 from 3. Mamu tonight struggles 1 for 3 from 3 with 5 rebounds and completely got destroyed defensively. His minutes were not good. He is a team worst, minus 23, and he's the guy who steps into the starting lineup with Jakob Poeltl. And if you think that Sandro Mamukelashvili is the center, he is not a center to begin with. Forget about the center. He is not a center. And it is interesting, of course, that it's the Toronto Raptors who end up scoring 81 points. This will probably go down as the least number of points that any team scores this week. Am I correct on that? Let me just double check here. Did anyone score less than 81 points yesterday? The Raptors failed to score 100 points. Charlotte scored 86, but I just can't remember the last time I've seen an NBA team score 81 points. Like, that is truly shocking. Washington will crack like 100 today, and they're not a great team. It's just insane. And Immanuel Quickley, apart from that little stretch that he went on where things were really good, and apart from, a pretty competent opening first quarter where he had 4 assists on the first 4 made field goals, I don't think Immanuel Quickley having a lot of assists is a recipe for success for this team. He sucks. He is a bad basketball player in terms of setting others up. Him having more assists is usually if you want proof on this, he averages more assists, more points, more shot attempts in Raptors losses than wins. Less Immanuel Quickley is good. But unfortunately, with the night that he had last night, you could bet dollars to donuts that he was going to come out and he was going to have a performance like tonight, where he is going to aggressively take shots. And you know what? His teams are going to just sit around and watch. Now, if you notice, it's kind of interesting. This little thumbnail, do you know when I made this thumbnail of Scottie Barnes looking all like, what's going on? I made this at 5:30. Sorry, 5:20. 5:20 p.m. is when I made this. This is the thumbnail. Did I maybe know that the Raptors were going to lose tonight? I had a very strong suspicion that the Raptors were going to lose tonight. That's why this thumbnail looks the way it does. Okay. And when I saw that Jakob Poeltl was playing, I was like, oh, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Oh, maybe the Raptors will win. Maybe I'm an idiot. Nope. For the Nets, Michael Porter Jr. continues to have his borderline all-star season, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He was the best player on the court for sure tonight. Noah Clowney, 19 points. He even hit 4 3-pointers. And people were like, wow, he's hitting threes. Yeah, he's hitting threes, and the Raptors let him. Yegor Demon had one of his better games of the season. Shout out to the BYU product out of Russia, allegedly adjusting to the NBA life has been hard. Maybe playing against the Raptors is the antidote for homesickness, right? He had 16 points, 4 for 8. Scottie let him shoot all night, and he did great. Danny Wolf, unproductive off the bench. He was one of a few players, Zaire Williams, Danny Wolf. When I saw Zaire Williams, Nolan Traore, Danny Wolf, like, this is why their bench is why they were even remotely in this game. I just want to be clear about that. Starters blew them out. With Michael Porter on the court, this was a 26-point, like, in the 36 minutes that Michael Porter Jr. actually played, he was plus 26. Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton, like, these guys were positive. Nick Claxton ended up leaving in the first half due to needing to get stitches. But Terrence Mann, another one. Look, I have talked about trading for a lot of these guys. Day'Ron Sharpe, the lone almost positive bench player for the Nets. The Nets have some decent players. Zaire Williams and Tyrese Martin and Danny Wolf right now are not some of those decent players. Nolan Traore is a rookie who is very raw, but, flashed some good potential. Were it not for that shitty ass bench coming in and bleeding away minutes and then losing that lead. I mean, the Nets lost the lead. To end the third quarter, the Raptors went on a huge run and they took the lead. And it was interesting. Michael Porter Jr. was not on the court when that happened. Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram were not on the court when that happened. It was just Immanuel Quickley kind of running with some spacing and making things work, and he was ultra aggressive, and it looked okay. The problem is, how Immanuel Quickley and Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram theoretically synergize without RJ Barrett. And without RJ Barrett, unfortunately, it just doesn't work because Immanuel Quickley becomes very predictable. He has one move, and that is to pass to Brandon Ingram. It is his only move. Either pass to Brandon Ingram or pick up his dribble, get himself trapped, and pass to whoever's open. Immanuel Quickley is absolutely the problem with this team right now, and I'm tired of ignoring it. It is obviously a problem. Okay, he does not know how to run an NBA offense. He has not figured it out in 2.5 years of trying to run an NBA offense. And the offense is stagnant. Every time he has the ball, the offense is stagnant. Jamal Shed comes in, boom, suddenly not stagnant. Then he comes in, boom, it's stagnant again. It just happens over and over and over and over. We got a super chat here. Let me honor the super chat. Crazy the hate that Scottie is getting on social media. Keep the receipts. Scottie is going to be an MVP candidate next year. The growth is easy to see. Listen, nothing would make me happier, Bill, than to see Scottie be an MVP candidate next year. In fact, nothing would make me happier than to see him being an MVP candidate this year. The problem with being an MVP is you do have to bring it every single night. You cannot have games like tonight. So let me be fair, because a lot of people will say that I don't ever call out Scottie's bad games. Last night, called it out. Tonight, gonna call it out even more because tonight somehow was even worse. You cannot follow up a game like last night. There needs to be a professional pride. If you see yourself as a future league MVP, you need to own it. You need to dress like it. You need to walk like it. You need to play like it. You need to compete like it. MVPs do not have 6 points, 6 rebounds against the Brooklyn Nets. I'm sorry to tell you. Okay. So you might consider this a receipt worthy thing. Trust me, nothing in the world is going to make me happier than watching my favorite player be in the MVP talks. Nothing in the world would make me happier than for people to be like, oh, yeah, Scottie Barnes is a superstar, but he's got to want it. Number one, you superstars don't defer to Ochai Abaji, bro. Superstars do not just let Brandon Ingram come and take every single shot and Emmanuel Quickley come and take every single shot on their team. Like the low hanging fruit of what Brandon Ingram does is that it's very seductive to just pass him the basketball and to let him do stuff because he likes doing it. And at least in theory, it works better than the hot potato bullshit basketball that the Raptors are playing. The problem is at no point during the last few years have the Raptors looked as abysmal as they do now. And so, look, if you're going to get credit, which Brandon Ingram gets plenty of credit for, elevating the half court offense and whatever. If you're going to get credit for all of that, I need you to take some of the blame, for the stagnation that the Raptors are currently experiencing because there's a lot of stagnation right now. We are having some technical difficulties on the film breakdown. Here we go. Look, here's one of the issues that the Raptors seem to face over and over and over again. For most teams, attacking the rim is usually a high efficiency idea, not for the Raptors. For the Raptors, attacking the rim, whether it be Immanuel Quickley missing point blank bunnies, Scottie Barnes traveling on that pass, traveling on that move on Day'Ron Sharpe, Brandon Ingram throwing up Hail Marys, Grady Dick, Jakob Poeltl going up for a dunk, which inevitably gets blocked. All of these things. Like, look, here we go. Why? What makes you think that you have the skill, size, and strength to finish through better athletes? This is the athleticism problem. The Raptors do not have athletes. Give me a W if you remember me talking about trading potentially RJ Barrett for Jonathan Kuminga. Look, I don't even like Jonathan Kuminga. I don't like Jonathan Kuminga. But you have an athleticism deficit. And this is, last I checked, an athlete's game. Okay? You have guys who are big that have long arms that are lacking in burst and mobility. You have guys who do not have this requisite speed. You are overplaying guys like Ochai Abaji who lack the requisite ball skills to even have like a chance. Like what do you think right now the gap is between Terrence Mann and Ochai Abaji? Because I'll tell you right now, Terrence Mann's a better basketball player. He's been a better basketball player. Like, that's crazy. Here, this is Brandon Ingram had back-to-back nice plays here. This is one of them. So this is the Raptors offense working well, right? And this is kind of the stuff that RJ Barrett would do for you, which is like he would cut into open space. And here, you know, I would say Sharpe just misplays this, maybe overplays this a little bit too much, where Ingram is coming downhill and there's a little miscommunication there. And that results in a wide open dunk or layup for Colin Murray Boyles. We're not even going to look at this, but my God, as I said, these should be high efficiency shots. Multiple times, Immanuel Quickley attacking the rim netted the Raptors absolutely nothing, either because he got blocked by a rookie and then proceeded to touch the ball on the way out. So that's a turnover. Or he did go up, drew a foul, but the refs did not give him a shooting foul. I don't know. I said, if you can do this, you have no excuses to score 12 points ever, which is true. This is a really, really hard shot. That's a really hard shot. That is an insanely hard shot. And Scottie does this 2-3 times a game where he makes extended pull-ups like that. And it's just, it's tough.
Oh, boy.
Here, scary moment for Raptor fans. Brandon Ingram comes up.
The second night of a back-to-back. Watch this. Wasn't even a jump stop. Just plant.
I'm going to need you to tape those ankles up, man. I said here, Immanuel Quickley is turning this game around. Love to see it. Look, this is not going to be an extensive post-game film breakdown because honestly, like the things that the Raptors did wrong are probably just really depressing to watch. It's repetitive though. I'll tell you that. It is repetitive. It's the same bullshit over and over again. And here, good pass by Immanuel Quickley. That capped a 15-0 run. Immanuel Quickley with 6 points, 3 assists during that run. Take a look at some of the shots that he got. You know, that's a difficult shot. Everything the Raptors get right now is very difficult because they don't trust each other. They don't move the basketball and they don't really have like proper finishers at any level. There's not proper mid-range scorers. They don't have like proper shooters. They don't have proper finishers. They don't have proper screeners. They don't have proper rollers. They just like this team is so talent deficient in so many regards. I said the Raptors really want you to have a crappy Christmas. Listen, Scottie Barnes, he's already hit a few. You've played this guy 3 times. He's hit a few in every single game. The elevation on this jump shot is absolutely mental, by the way. I just want to remind you, like, this is crazy. Like, that is, if he ever figures out his jump shot, he'll warrant being picked 8th overall. Like, that's crazy. He's a good passer. He's a really good passer. I said 0 fight, 0 defense, 0 flow, 0 chemistry, 0 trust. This is crazy. Watch this. Immanuel Quickley. Nothing. Now, take a look at this. How much of a running head start is this? You've got the best player on the court for the other side. You are Scottie Barnes, a player who has often talked about himself winning DPOY. You have the mobility, size, length, strength to stop this if you so choose. But what do you do instead? What is this? Seriously, what is this? What the fuck was that? If RJ Barrett had done that, I would be absolutely ripping him to shreds. So you cannot do that. It's actually worse that Scottie Barnes did that. That's crazy. And you know that a player who can hold Giannis Antetokounmpo to 12 points can hold Michael Porter Jr. to 8 points. This is an absolute mental breakdown and no fight, no recovery. We're just going to leave Immanuel Quickley to guard a 6'10" guy and another 6'10" guy in the lower third of the defense. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Scottie Barnes, that shit was fucking nuts. This is also crazy. This is back-to-back positive plays for Jakob Poeltl. On the inbound, Jacoby, he's a dog. He fights. You will always see me respect players who show up and fight. And Jacoby fought today. He really did. Like he got his nose bloodied on Nick Claxton finish, or was it a Noah Clowney finish? I can't remember. I think it was Nick Claxton. Here, Scottie Barnes, automatic pass to Jakob Poeltl. And Jacoby, his eyes brighten. He's thinking, "Hey, I'm in New York. I'm in Broadway. Let me get my signature dunk." Unfortunately, Jacoby is a little bit small. Let's just be honest. He's a little bit small because Shaedon Sharpe's not getting blocked on that. There's a little bit of a length problem there, right? Yeah, thinking Vince Carter's in the gym. Let me pull a Vince Carter. You're not Vince Carter. Vince Carter was 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan and really just underrated strong. You are 6'4" with probably a 6'10" wingspan, and that's a really, really long defender who is going to block you because you don't have another counter. And here, Jacoby, bless him, bless his heart, he actually comes back and he strips Nolan Traore, kind of giving you a preview. Now the Raptors are on a 5-on-3 fast break. This is guaranteed money, right? 5-on-3 fast break. They've got their bench in. You've got the advantage. You pass to Immanuel Quickley. That's where you fucked up. That's where you fucked up because you should never pass to Immanuel Quickley on a break. And Immanuel Quickley, 2-on-1. So you've taken your 5-on-3 and turned it into a 2-on-1 by extending the advantage up the court. And Immanuel Quickley says, "What? This is insane. Like, I don't care what he did in this game. This is a genuinely insane. What? What made you think this was a good idea? Here, what should you do?" Well, fair point. Spacing's bad. Angle's bad. Maybe what you should have done right here is you should be a little bit wider before you make your move towards the basket. Spacing is bad. Look at the spacing between Jamison Battle, Immanuel Quickley, and Scottie Barnes. This is bad spacing. See, what's funny is, again, RJ Barrett, he knows this. RJ Barrett goes wide, then he cuts into the middle. Why do you do that? Because you want to provide spacing when you have advantage. When you read the court, and this is like one of those things where it's just like either you have it or you don't, because you have to figure this out in a snap second. You know that your team has advantage, i.e., you have numbers. So the best way to maximize numbers is through spacing, is to not make it so easy for one person to guard two people. Now, would this be super easy to guard if, I don't know, if you were cutting in from a bit of a wider angle? No, because then he would have to come towards you a little bit, which might free up a pass to Brandon Ingram. Here, you don't even have an angle for a pass because by the time you even decide to make your move, the defender is already recovered, and there's always that potential of, if you make this pass right now, what are you really even going to get? I would say this, given the track record of Immanuel Quickley trying to finish over length at the rim, probably a better shot right here is a Brandon Ingram spot up mid-range shot, or a pass back to Jamison Battle, who's wide open. I'll take either one of those shots over you trying to force over a 6'11" guy at the rim who's known for his shot blocking. That's stupid. So, yes, overall, the Toronto Raptors sucked in this game. It was not good and not fun to watch, and yet super predictable. Let's bring on Professor Pixel. Professor Pixel, what is up?
Hey, yeah. How's it going?
How's it going? You're really owning that Professor Pixel thing, eh?
Oh yeah. I leaned into that.
You leaned into it. Absolutely.
Well, if someone in the chat can give me a better nickname, I'll switch it up.
Daryl, not from Thailand.
Daryl, not. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, anyways. This was a hard one, man. This was a hard one to stomach. It was so frustrating. So frustrating.
Indeed.
Yeah. You know, when the Raptors play small ball,
mm-hmm.
which they are forced into by not having bigs, it exposes that the players that they do have are even though they are physically small in stature, they're not small ball players.
Sure.
So what I mean by that is, to be successful at playing small ball, you have to have one or two movement shooters, and all the rest have to be above average knockdown catch and shoot shooters. They have to. If you're going to play a perimeter game, then you have to be able to, every single player has to be a threat from the 3-point line. And just watching the clank after clank after clank, like, it's no wonder nobody's respecting the 3-point shooters on this team. It's I mean, yeah, the percentages say one thing, but it's like you always say, it's about the process. It's about when and where and how. It's not about just simply looking at a box score and saying, oh, well, 35% from three. That's pretty average. 36%, not bad. 37, 38%. Wow, must have had a good game. Not necessarily, because you could hit 3 in a row when you're already up 12, and
Sure.
then you could clank all the rest when you're trying to put a run together or scratch and claw your way back into a game. It matters. Context matters. Context really matters. And this is not a small ball team. It's not a small ball team. This is a team that absolutely must have bigs, like reliable bigs. They need to be scoring in the paint. Scottie's a connector. Scottie can only connect so much on the perimeter, but there has to be somebody in the paint to connect to as well. Colin Murray-Boyles, I mean, kudos to him. He got into the paint and got open a few times, and nice, but I mean, he's 6'6.5". Like, he's not exactly the type of, he's not a lob threat, really. He's not the type of big that draws in a lot of gravity. And this is a dysfunctional roster the way that it is right now. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a dysfunctional roster. And I know people will say, oh, Scottie's not a superstar. Well, again, like, over and over again, I feel like screaming into a vacuum that not all superstars look the same. Not all superstars operate the same way. And on a team that doesn't have pieces to connect, Scottie's not going to be able to elevate this team by himself. But if this team had pieces that fit, that that he could elevate, like he could be a puppet master, he could be orchestrating things and elevating everyone. And then suddenly this is an amazing team. It's like, there's no in between. There's no in between with this team. It's got to be with a guy like Scottie. You've got to have.
If he doesn't set screens hard, and he doesn't roll hard, and he doesn't cut hard, and he doesn't play hard, and he doesn't defend hard, then none of this is going to work. You can connect all you want, but connecting is one thing. Like, there is a difference between, I get the ball, I force the defense to react, then I pass, versus I get the ball and immediately my hands are up and I'm looking for a place to pass. Scottie, too often, when when things are going right for Scottie, a game that comes to mind is the Cleveland game, where he just took over in the middle of the game. That game, he was pushing it down the throats, and that's against Evan Mobley. There's no reason you can do this to Evan Mobley and then not do it to Nick Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe and Noah Clowney. There's no reason. There's no reason that you can do it to Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic and, in those games, and then not do it against this team. I think there's a deference problem in his brain, which forces him to sort of just idly sit by and not take over moments. And it's kind of weird, because in the second year, when he was not nearly as skilled or as talented as he is today, we saw him take over plenty of games, So sometimes I feel like there's like probably a 2-week stretch to 3-week stretch in Scottie's season, almost every single season, where it just looks like, nah, it's not working for him. He's moving slow. He doesn't have it. He's distracted. He's zoned out somewhere defensively, offensively, everything today. I saw him mishandle an inbound pass where he was about to throw in the pass and he just dropped it and then he had to pick it back up. That is, to me, presumably, I think, and this is just me reading the tea leaves, I don't think he's getting enough sleep. He's got another baby on the way. This is, for young players, sometimes the Christmas time can be like very draining. You're thinking about your family, you're thinking about, a lot of stuff, you're thinking about the holiday break, maybe you're getting ahead of yourself, your brain is already decompressing, you're not focused. And right now, this is a team that came out deeply unserious and deeply unfocused. Do I think that suddenly means that we need to trade everybody? No. But this does point out to the glaring issue. And you brought up some good points. Yes, he does need shooters to connect to. He does need a big who can be a lob threat. He does need a screener. But I think the elephant in the room here is these pieces don't fit. The pieces that we have simply do not fit, because you have like a player who can functionally run point guard in Jamal Shed. And in theory, that's great. But in the NBA, he needs to be able to space the court. And he doesn't really do that very well. You have a player in Brandon Ingram who can make shots. But in theory, he needs to do more off the ball and away from the play. And I don't think that he's doing enough of that stuff either, And so when he gets the ball, he needs to buy into the 0.5 offense. Unfortunately, Brandon Ingram is playing 5-second offense right now, not 0.5 offense. He is holding the ball. He is allowing the defense to come to him. There was a play where he allowed a double team to come to him slowly and then completely trap him as he was trying to figure out what to do with the basketball. He does not trust that the ball will come back to him. And I don't know why he doesn't trust it, because every one of his teammates looks for him every time down. So again, this is where RJ Barrett comes in. It's like with RJ Barrett, there is no trust issue. He will pass it to him. Quickley will pass to him. And at the very least, because Scottie and Jakob are probably the most indiscriminatory passers on this team, like they really will pass it to the open man. Even if the open man was me or you, they will pass you the ball if you're open. With Scottie and Jakob Poeltl plus Ingram, Barrett, IQ, it kind of works in terms of two teams. There's like Ingram, Barrett, Quickley, and Scottie and Jakob just trying to fit in around the pieces. And then maybe doing some work to elevate the bench unit. Jakob's numbers are down across the board for a reason. Yeah. We've lost our identity.
No, I totally agree with you. I agree with you. I think that like a lot of this is on BI. A lot of it is on Immanuel Quickley, and like and a lot of it is on Scottie. Scottie has to take most of this because he is the leader of the team in theory, and he has to be able to say, listen, like we need to change this up. I think they need a players only meeting. They need Scottie to lead a players only meeting and just like assert himself. And I don't think he's going to do it, but that's what they need. They need him to do that. But I think that he is the happiest when he's bringing the ball up and then looking around, his head on a swivel, trying to find another guy. And that's just his mindset. And it's frustrating because he needs to be looking at the rim.
It's one thing to, and ironically, this is the Immanuel Quickley problem too. It's very different to pass after you've bent the court versus before you bent the court. If you pass before you bend the court, you've just wasted clock, right? You need to force a reaction. If you cannot force a reaction, you need to be off the court, like straight up. And I don't think that Grady Dick and Ochai Agbaji and any of the players really on this team are grabbing that level of heart attack, from the other team, where it's like, oh, wow, they're open. Shit, let me close out to them. And then the problem on everything right now is the Raptors' timing and pacing is off. Like everything they're doing is slow. Their cuts are slow. Their rolls are slow. Their screens are soft. Their contests are soft. Their rebounding is soft. Their box out assignments are fucked up. Like everything is just a step slow. And I think that Scottie play where he fails to close the gap on Michael Porter is a great example of that. Like I tell you, 2 weeks ago, he's closing that gap and he is chesting up on Porter and forcing a pass, if not forcing a turnover on the high dribble. And right now it's just like, excuse me, just go right through. And that to me, it's a trust issue. It's a chemistry issue. This team does not look like they like each other very much. There's not a lot of talking on the bench.
So weird. which is so weird because like it was all about great vibes and a tight knit group and a great off season hanging out together and everything. So it's so weird. Like, how did this happen?
Raw Talent Athletics Canada. None of this is Ingram's fault. These guys around him are not fully hooping. You really don't. I don't think you understand basketball, bro.
Yeah.
If you think that the highest shot taker can just be completely blameless. Now, nobody here is saying this team is bad because of Ingram. Nobody is saying that. So don't accuse us of saying something that's not true. I'm saying that it's a little bit low-hanging fruit when the entire offense is structured around cuts, timely cuts, and sequences, and pet actions where like there's automatics in the Raptors offense where it's like, okay, if the ball goes here and this guy drives, that triggers an immediate cut from the top. That stuff just falls apart when Ingram's on the court, because very often what happens is Ingram gets the ball and then everybody stands around and watches him. And it's really bad because he's not Luka. And I've been saying this since the early parts of the season. If y'all are expecting him to bail out your offense because he did it for a couple of weeks, he's not Luka Doncic. This will obviously fail. And his efficiency was really bad early in the season, but the process around him was good enough to sustain it. Now his efficiency has gotten mediocre-ish. He's starting to hit his threes now, but the offense around him is completely cratered. And it's not as simple as, oh, well, RJ Barrett. Yeah, RJ Barrett's helpful with that. Jakob Poeltl helps with that. These are positive, productive players, and they help. Immanuel Quickley hitting shots, Scottie Barnes having juice in his legs, Sandro Mamukelashvili. But I think the Raptors might have to open themselves up to the idea that maybe teams have just figured them out. This is the third straight game that I have seen teams go zone against us. We are not good at attacking the zone. We feature a lot of poor shooters. And if somebody out there thinks, RJ Barrett is solving your zone issue problems, yeah, part of it is he can cut through the zone. The dribble penetration would help a lot, but he's not some highly efficient paint finisher either. So it kind of creates this obvious need for a certain type of player that just does not exist on your team, which is a highly effective, highly efficient, rim attacking 3-level scorer. Norman Powell would be a great example. You don't have that player on your team. And that's the player you need on your team next to all of this stagnant motion right now. Because in order to cut through this stagnation, you need motion. You need movement. You need assertive, clear, and accurate movement. Accurate with force. It's too easy to cover a cut going half speed. We've all been in practices where we're trying to get the timing right on a cut. That's not hard. Cuts have to be extremely crisp, right? They have to be extremely timely. If you're half a second late on the cut to the basket, it's over. The opportunity is gone. It is a gap of half a second. So it's just bad. It's really bad. I hope this team figures it out, man.
I know, for sure. And one last thing is, I wanted to talk about Scottie not getting to the free throw line again in this game. And it's not hard to figure out, but I kind of defined it in my mind is that Scottie, what's the word? Okay, you know how like there are players that look for fouls, they try to draw fouls, and Scottie tries to draw fouls too. No, Scottie tries to draw fouls too, just 10 seconds too late. He does it by screaming at the refs after he doesn't get a call. So it's like, move that up to 10 seconds, learn how to learn what the refs are looking for, and then do that. Like if you're going to complain about not getting the call, then you're obviously looking for the call. So then there's nothing unethical about trying to draw the call. I mean, if you're a person that's going to complain to the refs about not getting a call, then what's the difference? Just move it up 10 seconds earlier. Move your head a certain way, move your arm a certain way, throw up your arms, do something to get to the line. That's what everybody does. Like, just if you're going to be looking for calls, make it effective at least.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I fully agree. I think it's just, it kind of sucks. The timing of it sucks because you do feel bad for the players as well, right? They've had such a good season, and now all the Christmas break is just going to be marred with like trade rumors and this is not working and this team is shit and they were frauds. And 82 games. We play 82 games for a reason. Obviously, there are stinkers, there are periods. I hope that being with their families recharges them and brings them back to the table with maybe a fresh perspective. Sometimes environments can become stale, and thought patterns can become sort of circular and toxic, even, right? There's like a particular thing that you're trying to figure out. It's like a problem that you're staring at. And sometimes people say, what's the best way to get over a problem? Go for a walk, right? Why? Because you're sitting in that room staring at that blank piece of paper trying to solve this problem over and over and over again. And at some point you just like, no, I need to look at a tree for like 20 minutes and figure this out that way. Seems counterintuitive, but I'm really hoping the time off does something for this team. But I don't think they're going to get the time off right now because their schedule says that they are playing very soon. Yeah, they're playing again very soon. So they will be playing Miami on December 23rd and Washington on Boxing Day. So at Miami, good for Scottie, right? Kind of a nice little favor to the Toronto Raptors star player, having him, get to have Christmas at home, which will be really interesting. I think he needs to just have a good game before the Christmas break. Like, he needs to have a great game against Miami, and this team needs to win so that they can go home to their families. And I hope that game will feature the desperation, because they beat this Miami team by 10 points like last week. Okay. So no reason to lay up an egg against Miami, but I will say this: Miami is playing better basketball than us right now. So, and they will have the exact same sentiments, right? They were very competitive today against New York, lost by 7. So, interesting. Milwaukee almost made a comeback against Minnesota. Isn't that crazy? That is insane.
Yeah, that is great. No, Minnesota's really underachieving. Milwaukee, who knows what you're going to get any night from them.
Wow.
What do you think of Dayron? What do you think of Dayron today?
I was going to ask you the same question. I thought he was physical. I thought he competed.
I think so. I mean, yeah, he had some nice moments, but I can see some things that he does that would drive us crazy if we had him and we're watching him every single day. Like his like getting called for illegal defense a lot. He gets he is 3 in the key. I mean, I haven't checked, but I bet he's one of the league leaders in getting called for 3 in the key. He was okay, but I mean, he's something that our team desperately needs. But I just, like, it was interesting to actually watch him operate, really like focusing on what he's doing, like every single time he was out there, like watching how he moves and watching where he goes. And, I think that if we do end up trading for him, I think that would be great. But I also want Raptors fans to understand that he's not Victor Wembanyama. He is a backup center.
Yeah, but see, Nick Claxton is not Victor Wembanyama. He's also, in theory, also probably on a contender, a backup center. If he was in OKC, he'd be backup center. If he was in Denver, he'd be a backup center. If he was in New York, he'd be backup center. However, right, what Nick Claxton would do for this team in terms of shoring up your defense, in terms of just sprinting to the basket and just being a guy who doesn't get blocked 15 times at the basket, that's kind of the point. And I think Dayron could be used very differently than he's used in Brooklyn. I think he could be a really good passer. I think someone said watching Maxime ball out right now is soul crushing. Well, yeah, sure. Maxime Reynaud did have 29 points very recently for the. Yeah, it's not fun, man. I want to tell you that it's not fun right now to be a Raptor fan. But again, I'm reminded we are 4th, I believe, in the Eastern Conference. Am I mistaken on that? Are we 4th right now? We fell to 6th. Oh my God. We have fallen. We're 6th. Oh my God. We're tied for 5th. I mean, technically, no, we're 6th. We're officially 6th. And there is a little bit of a gap between us and Cleveland, in fairness. But, Cleveland, Miami, more than capable of closing that gap up. And shit, man, lose to Miami and it gets real murky real fast. So I will say this, like, are the Raptors above tanking? Is it too late? Have you won too much already? You're 17, you're 4 games above 500. It feels very, very unlikely that this team would pivot right now and just start tanking. But, like, if Jakob Poeltl is out for the season or something like that, if he gets shut down with a back injury, you don't have any chance of being a playoff team in the East against the team that you're gonna inevitably go up against. Like, you can't match up with Joel Embiid. You can't match up with Wendell Carter. You can't match up with Nehemias Keita. You can't match up again. I don't even want to see us against Detroit. I think I might actually set that one out. I'm load managing when we go up against Detroit because I don't even want to see what Detroit is going to do to us. Like, that team plays all dog all the time. Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart against this team, the way they're playing right now, if we played the game that we played tonight against Detroit, we would get stomped by 35 to 45 points easily. Maybe more. We might get stomped by 70. So, yeah, man, this has been a really, really, really bad stretch of Raptors basketball. And again, I'm reminded a month ago, we were a top 5 offense and a top 10 defense. That is hard to imagine. Crazy.
And I can pinpoint, at least for me, exactly when things changed. And that was in the game where BI hit that last second game winner. It was like the 8th game, I think, in the 9-game win streak. Mm-hmm. And it was that game. And I remember talking to you, I even said, like, a lot of people are going to say that this was a great game by Brandon Ingram. And I said, I think I called in after that game and I said, to me, it wasn't the greatest Brandon Ingram game. And the reason I couldn't maybe articulate it very well, but the reason is that is the moment, that's the game when the cutting stopped. That's the game when players around Ingram realized they weren't going to get the ball when they cut. And that is the moment that changed everything. The movement stopped that game, and it's never been the same since that game.
I think you're right. I actually think you're right. And that's sad to say, but I do think there are some valid concerns on that front that this team has over deferred its offense. And again, like, I called it out very early in the season that Ingram ball is going to get you to the lottery. You know, that it's not a recipe for success. The Pelicans have tried it. You know, the Lakers have tried it. It's just not, he's not good enough to do that. There are players who are good enough to do that. I think that this team has a problem of identity, and the identity problem is specifically that there are certain players who have not actually accepted who they are as basketball players. I think, and you know, again, this comes down to the Bobby Webster problem that I mentioned last game. He's not the type of person to be like, you're not this player. That's why players get overpaid, because you can't be real with players. You can't tell Jakob Poeltl, hey man, on a good team, you're a backup center. So you're going to get paid like $14 million in case you eventually become a backup center. You're north of 30. You can't play hardball with these guys. Immanuel Quickley, once again, on a good team, you're a backup point guard. You're probably not a point guard. Presumably, other teams view you like that. We're going to pay you $25 million. We think we're being generous. That would be honest. Brandon Ingram, you're not a franchise player. We cannot cater our entire offense towards you. You have a lot of injury issues. And frankly, playing, you know, like, I think there is something wrong with how this team is run from the top down, and it just has a trickle down effect of catering to subpar talent. Why this team insists on bending, breaking. You know what the Raptors remind me of? They remind me of like the really desperate guy at the bar, and the girl's like, I'm really not interested. And he's like, are you sure? Because I have a credit card. And then she's like, no, I'm really, really not interested. He's like, yeah, but like I have a house. And she's like, but I'm really, really not interested. And I think you're kind of ugly. And he's like, but I have breath mints and like I make $2 million a year. You know, like I feel like that's the guy. That's who
the Toronto simps.
Exactly. Like, this team has no balls. Fred VanVleet comes in and totally just takes over the entire organization. He's an undrafted guy. This is not Chris Paul in his prime. It's not Michael Jordan. It's not Kobe Bryant. It's not Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard came in, and I feel like that's the one player in over the last few years where you can bend a little bit too, right? But DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, like even Kyle Lowry, like very moody, attitudey, ghosting the front office and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why this team is so like soft, but I have a feeling it's the front office. The front office is just a very soft group of people. Like they don't
I
have
think
like
so.
that edge of like, this is the truth, go fuck yourself. They don't have like I don't want to say the Tony Montana approach to executive management. They don't have the Tony Soprano approach to executive management. They don't
The
have
Pat
like
Riley approach.
they don't have the Pat Riley approach either. Yeah. Like the Pat Riley approach is basically like, Jimmy Butler, you're old, get the fuck out of here, right? Like some people don't like it, and I get it. I've been critical of it too. I think there needs to be an adaptive approach to it. But looking at what Raphael Stone has done with Houston, like they were able to negotiate Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun to not take max contracts because they were just like, listen, you're not Cade Cunningham, Scottie Barnes, and Evan Mobley. And quite frankly, Alperen Sengun is outperforming Scottie Barnes this year, relatively even. Jalen Johnson is another player who did not, who's from that 2021 class. He did not get a rookie max extension. If Jalen Johnson played for the Raptors, he'd make $44 million a year. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, I don't trust this front office to know the truth, and I desperately do not trust them to tell the truth to the people who need to hear the truth. And the truth right now is somebody in the front office or somebody in the head coach and staff needs to look at Immanuel Quickley and say, listen, man, we tried this experiment for 2.5 years. You're clearly not a point guard. We're going to move in another direction, and you're going to come off the bench. We're paying you like a starting point guard, but it's not working for us. You're strangleholding the offense. Brandon Ingram, we know you want to be an all-star. We understand that you like to take tough mid-range shots, but we spent 2 years developing a fucking offense, and you have completely come in and ruined it immediately. And yeah, you're probably the best scorer on this team, bar none. No questions asked. But our team you are not going to win games by yourself. So look, this is not the first player in NBA history or even Raptors history who maybe needs to do a little bit more to fit out. Like I remind you, and I'm sure you remember it. If you remember that time where Vince was just on a completely different page with his teammates and they were losing games and he sucked. He was not playing good defense. He was settling for too many jumpers, but he was still the best player on the team and no one disputed it. No one thought Antonio Davis or Morris Peterson. And then when he went out, immediately things just started to immediately click. And right now, I feel like if Brandon Ingram were to go out, it would probably be like a game to adjust and it'd be like, uh-oh. And then someone would emerge. A new 20
I didn't want to
game.
say it, but I was thinking that. I was thinking the same thing. I didn't want to say it out loud because I don't want to wish anybody to be out of the lineup, but like it would be addition by subtraction. The team would get back to where I think their priority should be, and that is how they were playing before, when the team identity was everybody moving and everybody getting an equal chance to get open and create a better look. And then Ingram was the pressure release valve where we had somebody that we've never had before that in case we couldn't find a good shot, give it to Ingram, and then he will find a better shot himself. Instead, the priority has gone, the pendulum has swung all the way over to the other end where it's like, well, if he's going to be our pressure release valve, then why not just let him be the entire machine?
Exactly.
And you're exactly right. What you're saying makes so much sense. Like the people in leadership positions are too soft to call it out and say, don't do it. Get back to the way it was before. This is what needs to be our top priority. And then this is our hierarchy of priorities like this, but it's just not happening.
And it's not happening largely because people lack the gumption, courage to tell the truth. And you know what? Telling the truth is actually really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think people spend a lot of time burying themselves into like masks and lies. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's okay when a person just wakes up one day and says, you know what? I'm actually not that smart. I think I'm gonna have to work really, really hard in life. I remember a guy, I'm not gonna name the name, but this guy, he was a friend of mine. He is a friend of mine. And he said, he was going to the gym for like what felt like the 14th time that week. And he's just like working out so hard. And I was like, man, you're really crushing it out there. He's like, well, I'm 34, unmarried with a bald spot. and I'm 5'8", I'm going to have to work at this really hard. And it just kind of hit me. I was just like, that is a painful amount of reality, but it is really fucking true. You really are facing an uphill battle here, man. You're going to have to invent like the new Bitcoin to have the same advantages that a 6'2" dude with some charisma out there is going to have. I actually
somebody in the chat, this guy in the chat saying, "I feel attacked." Hey, it's a safe space here, man.
I apologize, man. But look, like I think that's fair though. I think that's look. I've interviewed Catherine, the neuroscientist, multiple times, right?
Great
And one of the things she said to me very early in our friendship was, she said, "I'm not actually that smart. I'm not actually that smart. I'm pretty smart, but I'm not smart enough that I don't have to work super hard." She's like, "So my superpower is that I work super, super hard. I find out how hard people are working and I outwork them." And I just thought that that was so interesting because so many people become seduced by the idea of gifts. They're gifted, they're super smart. And then what happens is those very, very smart people go through life trying to avoid outcomes which would disprove their initial hypothesis that they are in fact smart. And so, in fact, smart people who don't apply themselves and don't get real with themselves often become soft people, I think. And defensive people, cagey people, slow to grow, slow to adapt people. And I think that it is important, at some point to get very real with yourself and just be like, you know what? If I'm having problems with like every single person, this might be an issue with me. That's hard though. That's a hard thing. And I think sometimes just like people need to just stop. Like, stop drowning yourself in the consensus. And the problem with success, and I often find like a lot of great directors peak around their 40s, like in cinema, like a lot of great directors have peaked around their 40s. And I'm like, why is this? Because in theory, you have more life experience at 50. You typically have a little bit more money. And it's like, why do so many people make some of their best movies early? And it's just like, some people have hypothesized that it's due to energy. You just have a lot more energy in your 30s and 40s than you do in your 50s and 60s. But some people said, success is a curse and it's a bit of a burden too, because with success come yes men. And with success comes pressure to not lose your idea of yourself as successful. And I think the best people and the people that didn't peak in their 40s, and I try to learn from those people, like people like Stanley Kubrick, who are making revolutionary films even till the end, they're able to flush their past successes and start over, right? They're able to flush it. They're not thinking, I'm an MIT grad, I should be able to figure this out. They're like, no, flush it, move on. I'm a human being, move on. And I think at this point, the Raptors need to rethink it. They can't think of themselves as a championship organization because nobody cares. At this point, nobody cares. They can't think of themselves on, I have a feeling that this team just every single time that Bobby Webster is sad, he just pulls out a picture of Kawhi Leonard from his drawer and it's just like, I got this guy to stay for 1 year. I got him to really buy in. It's just a team that is just stuck on its past success. And it's very frustrating because I think it's obvious to everybody here that this team desperately needed a backup center. I think it's obvious to everyone here that Scottie Barnes was not going to last long term playing power forward and manage to get through a season like this. I think it's obvious to most people here that Immanuel Quickley wasn't a point guard like last year. So these are all problems. Could have addressed them. Didn't.
So why not?
Arrogance.
Why haven't they addressed it?
It's arrogance, man. It's arrogance because like too many times they've been proven right. They took a risk on Kawhi Leonard and they were right. They felt like OG and Pascal and these guys were really, really good. And they were right in a sense. I mean, they found success elsewhere. So it's just like almost like there's too much of a confirmation bias of your own past successes to question yourself appropriately in this moment. You think Jakob Poeltl is a top 10 center, and so you're gonna you're gonna die on that hill. You're gonna pay him like it, even though the evidence shows you he's not. His rim protection numbers would show you he's not. No, our analytics, our data, we are smarter than everybody. And it's just like, you're really not, because you drafted Grady Dick 13th. And that was a reach for some people, right? For I don't know. I think this team would do itself well to just look at the mirror and just say, what if what we're doing is wrong? What if what we think is wrong? What if the Ingram experiment is wrong? What if the Immanuel Quickley thing is wrong? What if we don't have the quality of people that we think that we have in this organization? What if everybody isn't, best friends? What if this isn't kumbaya? What if there is no, what if voiding or extracting any quote unquote character issue guys extracts character, period? I think these are questions that you need to ask yourself, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I mean, I try to remind myself it is 82 games. This team has outperformed on the broader scale. This is not a reason to panic. But again, even the wins didn't feel like wins. A lot of those wins felt like losses for me. And so at this point, the Raptors may have a record, the 17-13, but to me, this feels like a 15-15 team that has gotten phenomenally lucky with injuries to other teams. Basically, other teams just resting stars, perfectly healthy against you. Like, we played the Lakers without Luka. We played the Celtics without Jaylen Brown. We played the Cavaliers without Donovan Mitchell. Like, it's just like it's over and over. I don't know. Bunch of super chats. Kilo Delta said the disheartening part for me is the $50 million we have locked up in contracts with IQ and Yak. This crushes my hopes for the future. Cut our losses ASAP. Well, Kilo Delta, I hate to pile on your heart, crushing, but it's actually 52 million. Bill Withers said Scottie Ingram has a higher ceiling than Tatum Brown, who won a chip. Get some decent role players to center around this duo, and we're a contender. I fundamentally disagree with you. I mean, regarding ceiling, we will see. What Scottie would have to become so incredibly good for him to elevate that duo above Tatum and Brown. And I'm not even saying Tatum and Brown are on the level of Jokic and Murray or Shea and J-Dub. Like, they're with Jason Tatum, you're talking about at worst in his peak a top 6 player, and Jaylen Brown, you're talking about a top 20 player. Ingram is right now probably a top 35 player, and Scottie right now is probably a top 20 player. So you really you're hoping for, I think it would be more accurate and perhaps a little less delusional if you said, my hope is that one day they can match what that duo did. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that they will be considerably better than that duo. They're a little bit bigger than that duo, I'll give you that, but I don't think that's fair. Yeah. Anyways, any final thoughts, Daryl?
No, I think I've occupied enough time, and people in the chat are probably getting bored with me. So,
no, we always appreciate you coming on, and you got really pixelated in the middle there, so you lived up to the name.
Awesome. So I'll keep,
But then you got really clear. You got super 4K, and I was just like, fuck, not living up to the Professor Pixel name today. But yeah, it was a very uneven, very uneven Wi-Fi performance from you.
All right, well, maybe the next call in will feature Daryl, not from Thailand.
Daryl, not from Thailand. I'll tell you a joke before you leave.
Sure.
Can I tell you a joke before you leave? Okay, it's funny. Okay, so I was watching, I randomly clicked on this video, not because I was just curious. Sometimes I click on things because I'm curious, and I'm actually genuinely curious why YouTube would show me this. So there was this guy, and he was talking about his dating coach program, right? And he was saying, he's like, look, man, a lot of people out there, they desperately need to learn how to talk to women. And then there are these simps online that think it's somehow unethical. He's like, they get on their moral high horse and they're like, no, this is wrong. He's like, it's wrong to have game. He's like, where in the Bible did it say thou shalt not have riz?
Oh, yeah. There are some people in the Bible with a lot of riz.
There you go, man. Gotta have riz. Anyways, appreciate you, man. Peace.
All right, man. See ya.
Yeah. Where in the Bible does it say thou shalt not have riz? Seriously, where? Okay. Molly said, Scottie has been playing like a top 15 player for 90% of the season. We need to stop acting like he's stinking him to join all season. 100% true. Scottie has had, apart from New York, Boston, and this game, I would say he's had a pretty damn good season. In fact, let us see how remarkably consistent Scottie Barnes actually has been by looking at his individual game logs and just, again, there's sort of a tendency, I would say, for people to maybe overreact to bad games, especially with the recency bias of bad games coming up. So here's the advanced game log, and I just want to sort for positive versus negative games on the basis of boxes minus. And these are his negative games right here. Sorry. So if we're looking at negative games, hold on. Let me pull that off. So negative games right there. He's had Charlotte, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Boston, Spurs, New York, Philly, and now this game. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 negative-ish games. Overwhelmingly positive games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 overwhelmingly like superstar games. And then a whole bunch of like all-star games, man. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So someone having 7 superstar games, 7 or 8 superstar games, 8 stinkers, and like 12 all-star games. I would say overall, Scottie Barnes has been really freaking awesome. And he has by far been your best player this year. Someone said, Red Salute said, winning fixes everything, and we can't win, let alone play competent basketball without a center. This is a Bobby problem, and he needs to fix this ASAP. I 100% agree with you. If the Raptors internally know that Jakob Poeltl is going to miss any extended time at all, and honestly, even if they don't know that he is, you have a vacant roster spot. Do you know how frustrating it must be for Brandon Ingram and Scottie Barnes and Mamu Kelishvili to go out there knowing that this front office has had a vacant fucking roster spot, which they could use to sign a 10-day contract on a 7-footer who competently just come in and just be a veteran? I know Daniel Tice is currently playing in Europe, but like a Daniel Tice level center, let me just look. NBA centers available. Let me just see. NBA center free agents. Okay, free agent tracker. Okay, availability unsigned. Okay. All positions. Let's check centers. Charles Bassey, Bol, PJ Hall, Kai Jones, Alex Len, Tristan Thompson. Yo, Alex Len would help. I hate to say it. He's also a former Raptor. He would help. Kai Jones would help tremendously. Signing to one of these guys to a 10-day contract would help immediately. It would. Let me look at forwards who could potentially play center. No, not Delano Banton. Taj Gibson, he's too old. James Johnson, too old and too terrible. Kevin Knox, too terrible. I mean, it's slim pickings out there. But you could trade for somebody, right? Like something to avoid Tristan Thompson, maybe. Just a guy who could just come in and for 10 minutes not be absolutely ass. Serge Ibaka is another one. 37-year-old Serge Ibaka. Christian Coloco is another one. Well, what's the harm? These guys are sitting there unemployed, and you're playing Colin Murray Boyles and Brandon Ingram at power forward. Like, what are you doing? Anyways, Serge is Thompson is washed. Yes, he is washed, but he is still a man. He can set screens for Immanuel Quickley. Like, I don't think people understand what the Raptors are actually missing right now. It's making everything really bad. You're having to overextend everybody to do something they're not physically capable of doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? No, I agree with you. Karen Hall. Easy to say this is the NBA, you got to push through it, but playing back to back with only a few hours of sleep, that's rough. I agree. Like the Raptors got in late last night. I hear you. I agree with you. At the same time, and yes, playing with a 21-hour turnaround is tough. you know? But let's just be real. The Raptors did not play well yesterday. They did not play balls to the wall defensively or offensively. They had games off before then. I think they had a couple of days off before then. So you have to prepare. You have to prepare for 82 games. Look, Karen, I get it. Like we are here to, to hold this team to we're here to hold this team accountable. Let's just be real with that, okay? No one is saying sell the farm, trade everybody, everybody's a bum, the season is not real. Nobody's saying that. What we're saying is this type of effort, and believe me, tonight did come down to effort, execution, uh, commitment, you know, roster limitations, roster construction. So, and you get an average game from Scottie Barnes tonight, you win. It's that simple. You get an average game from Scottie Barnes or Immanuel Quickley or Grady Dick or Sandro Mamukelashvili, and you probably win this game, But it's one thing for Sandro, like you give Sandro the break because, he did up 24 points. He's on a minimum contract and he probably is playing more minutes than he's used to right now, But with Scottie, I mean, these are back-to-back tour dates, man. You can't have back-to-back games like this. There has to be a professional pride. I don't care if and I genuinely don't care. You're 24 years old. You know what I mean? You're not like 45, 50 where or even 35, 36 where your body requires that crazy amount of recovery. Scottie is very unique physically in terms of being able to recover quickly. I mean, the same thing that would allow you to come back from an ankle sprain, a severe ankle sprain in 5 days, would be the same thing that allows you to come back and play back to back nights, right? It's the same mechanism of the body. Scottie is a unique athlete. He should be able to do this. There's no reason for Scottie Barnes to be hitting a wall, defensively right now to the level that he is, other than the fact that, yes, he has had an extremely hard toll. Is it worse to sign Mo Bamba or keep no backup center? It is worse to sign Mo Bamba. He is that bad. I understand that he's very talented, but talent is not going to help you right now. It's not talent. It's execution. It's basketball IQ, and adding another player who does not know what the fuck to do when they grab the basketball. It's a bad recipe for success. But thank you for the member chat. Appreciate you, Daryl, and thanks for calling. Thanks for calling in. All right. We are supposed to have a members live today. I am feeling extremely drained by this team right now, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to talk about. I thought about talking about the Raptors defense and why it hasn't looked as good in the last couple of games, but then I'm like, I'm just beating a dead horse here. I thought about talking about the analytics and just how terrible they've been in the last few games, but then I'm like, I'm beating a dead horse here. So what is the right thing to do? I think the right thing to do would be to have a 11 o'clock ish members live, which is our Sunday live, which would be like my Toronto Raptors Christmas wish list. I've often done this video as a public video, but today I feel like I could do it as maybe I could do it as a members only video. So my Christmas wish list for the Raptors, and I'll just create graphics. And yeah, I'll try to do that video around 11:15 p.m. tonight. And maybe that'll be a happy, hopeful look at the future. But again, I really don't know what to do. So if you guys have any ideas, 905. See, I wish I could talk about the 905, but I haven't followed the 905. I've watched 2 games. I do not believe that I'm the right person to be talking about the 905. And I really picked my season, didn't I? Because last year I watched so much 905, and I feel like this is the year that I should have covered it. So unfortunately, I don't think that I would be the right person to cover the 905 right now for you. But the 905 do play great basketball. I agree with you. They do. Exactly. Like between the panel and between Pensare Basketball, my commitments to NBA basketball are so high that trying to find time to watch AJ DeBonsa at BYU, trying to find time to watch, Chucky Hepburn with the 905. Like these games are hard because I'm also trying to cover women's basketball because I want to cover the tempo. I'm also trying to cover the Spurs and the OKC Thunder because presumably those teams will have deeper playoff runs than the Raptors. Why the Raptors should trade for MPJ and Sharpe. Yeah. I also thought about like the environment for success and failure. So, I mean, yeah. I will figure out a good members live. But right now, Red Salute said member stream tomorrow instead. Take the night off. It's tempting. It's very tempting. But it would break a pattern of consistency, which I do not want to break. So unfortunately, like the Sunday show being a Monday show feels like no, that cannot be. I mean, obviously, I've already had like a couple of close calls where once I almost forgot about it and had to do it at 11:40. I feel like I'm extending good graces with the members like already a little bit too much. No, I think I will brainstorm it for the next 10 minutes. I'll figure it out and I will do a members live on something relevant and hopefully positive. I will talk to y'all later. Just do a chat Q&A type of live. That is a really good idea, actually. That is a great idea. I would like to do a portion of that, but members lives have to have a subject. So I will think of a subject in the next 15 minutes and then I will create it. All right. Talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Don't let this drag you down. There's bigger things. There's your family. Hug your family, love your kids, call your mother, call your father if they are alive. If you're one of those people that's lucky enough to have parents who are alive, call them up, have a conversation with them, and hopefully don't talk about the Raptors because the Raptors been shit the last couple of games. But also remember, these are human beings. They've obviously hit a wall right now. They have some things to work through. They're not healthy. RJ Barrett was on the court earlier, practicing. So hopefully he's back in the new year. And, we can just kind of wipe it clean and start over. It doesn't matter the kind of basketball you're playing in December. But I have said before, December to like February is like real hoops. Like this is where teams are starting to like gear up, all-star break, like teams are starting to figure themselves out. I don't really trust September, October, and May hoops. Or is it May? April hoops. April hoops and September, October hoops. These are like or October, November, and May. Like these are no, April. April, October, November. These 3 months, they don't mean much in terms of like overall, like what the NBA is about, in my opinion. Anyways, thank you so much to Bill Weathers. Thank you so much to Kilo Delta. Thank you so much to Red Salute for the super chats. Appreciate y'all and your generosity always. And thank you so much to our members. We will have a members live for you tonight. Still haven't figured out the topic. Gonna go think about it. Talk to y'all later. Peace.